Deadpool doesn't give up, Daddy, so I won't either. Lily Chen said that 16 times during her year of cancer treatment, 16 times when the chemo made her so sick she couldn't move, 16 times when the hospital felt like a prison, 16 times when being 7 years old and fighting for your life felt impossible. And now Ryan Reynolds was crying on the Tonight Show stage, staring at those words tattooed on a stranger's arm, unable to speak, because he'd just learned what those words meant, what they'd survived, what they'd promised. The tattoo was on Michael Chen's left forearm, Deadpool's masked face, red and black, scarred and smirking. And underneath, in shaky child's handwriting, Lily, my real superhero. Ryan couldn't stop touching it, tracing the letters with his finger, trying to understand how something he'd created, a wise-cracking, fourth-wall-breaking anti-hero, had become a 7-year-old's reason to survive. She beat it? Ryan asked, his voice breaking. Your daughter, she's okay? 3 weeks cancer-free, Michael said. Remission. And Ryan Reynolds, Deadpool, Van Wilder, the guy who always has a joke ready, broke down completely, right there on the Tonight Show, in front of 240 people and millions watching at home, because sometimes a tattoo isn't just ink. Sometimes it's proof that hope survives. 1 minute, 8 seconds earlier, Ryan Reynolds walked onto the Tonight Show stage to massive applause. He was there to promote his new film, be charming, make people laugh, the usual. He sat down with Jimmy Fallon, and they started talking. Ryan was in his element. Quick wit, self-deprecating humor, the performance everyone expected. So the film was absolutely brutal to shoot, Ryan was saying, gesturing animatedly. We were in the desert. It was 110 degrees, and I'm in a full Deadpool suit, which is basically like wearing a leather oven. He stopped mid-sentence. His eyes had caught something in row 4. A man's arm, a tattoo, Deadpool's face. Ryan squinted, trying to see it better. Then he saw the words underneath. Wait, Ryan said, pointing. His famous smile dropped. Is that... Sir, in row 4, can I see your arm? Can you come up here? Jimmy Fallon looked confused. Ryan, what? But Ryan was already standing up. Please, I need to see that tattoo, the Deadpool one. Can you come up? Michael Chen felt his heart stop. He was sitting in row 4, wearing a short-sleeved shirt specifically so the tattoo would be visible. He'd been hoping, praying, for this exact moment. But now that it was happening, he couldn't move. Go, his wife Maria whispered, pushing him gently. Go! Michael stood up on shaking legs and walked to the stage. The cameras followed him. The audience was silent, confused, but sensing something important. When Michael reached Ryan, he extended his left arm. Ryan took Michael's arm gently and stared at the tattoo. Deadpool's face, perfectly rendered, and underneath, Lily, my real superhero. The handwriting was unmistakably a child's. Shaky letters, uneven spacing, the kind a 7-year-old makes when trying to write neatly. How old is Lily? Ryan asked quietly. All his humor was gone. 7, Michael said. She turned 7 during treatment. Treatment for acute lymphoblastic leukemia, diagnosed 13 months ago. She finished her last round of chemo 3 weeks ago. She's in remission. But nobody in Studio 6B knew the full story yet. Nobody knew that 13 months ago, Michael and Maria Chen had sat in a doctor's office and heard the words that destroy parents. Your daughter has cancer. Acute lymphoblastic leukemia. Stage 2. Treatable, the doctor said, but aggressive. 6 months of chemotherapy. Maybe more. Nobody knew that Lily had asked, Am I going to lose my hair like the people on TV? And Michael had lied and said, Maybe not, sweetheart. Everyone's different. But 3 weeks into treatment, Lily's hair started falling out, first in strands on her pillow, then in clumps in the shower, then all at once, until she was bald at 7 years old, staring at herself in the mirror and crying because she didn't recognize herself. Nobody knew that the chemo made Lily so sick she couldn't eat for days, that she lost 15 pounds off a body that didn't have 15 pounds to lose, that Michael and Maria took turns sleeping in a chair beside her hospital bed because leaving her alone felt impossible. Nobody knew that one night, 3 months into treatment, Lily had looked at her father with hollow eyes and whispered, "Daddy, I'm so tired. Can I stop? Please?" And Michael had to say no. Had to tell his 7-year-old daughter that stopping meant dying. Had to watch her cry and know there was nothing he could do except stay. Just stay. That was the night he turned on Deadpool. He was desperate. Lily couldn't sleep. The nausea was too bad. So Michael scrolled through streaming services looking for anything that might distract her. And he saw it. Deadpool. Rated R. Probably inappropriate for a 7-year-old, but what did it matter? His daughter was fighting for her life. She deserved whatever made her smile. Lily watched, and halfway through she laughed. Actually laughed. For the first time in weeks. At Deadpool's stupid jokes. At his ridiculous healing factor. At the way he kept making wisecracks even when he was being tortured. "He doesn't give up," Lily said, her voice small but amazed. "Even when it hurts, he doesn't give up." "No," Michael agreed. "He doesn't." "Then I won't either," Lily said, and she meant it. From that night on, Deadpool became Lily's touchstone. When the chemo made her vomit until there was nothing left, she'd whisper, "Deadpool doesn't give up." When the nurses had to stick her with needles for the 100th time, she'd grit her teeth and say, "So, I won't either." When other kids in the cancer ward were crying and scared, Lily would tell them about Deadpool, about how he kept fighting even when everything was terrible. Nobody in Studio 6B knew that Lily Chen, 7 years old and bald and fighting leukemia, had become a source of hope for other kids in her ward. That nurses started calling her Little Deadpool. That she'd made a mask out of red construction paper and worn it during one of her treatments to make the other kids laugh. Nobody knew what Ryan Reynolds was about to learn, about the power of stories, about how something created for laughs had become a survival tool for a child, about how Deadpool, scarred, broken, inappropriate Deadpool, had saved a little girl's life simply by existing. Michael took a breath and started explaining. When Lily was diagnosed, she was terrified. She's 7. She didn't understand why she had to go to the hospital, why the medicine made her so sick, why her hair was falling out. His voice cracked. "She asked me once if she was going to die." Ryan's hand went to his mouth, his eyes filled with tears. "I didn't know what to say," Michael continued. "How do you answer that? How do you give a 7-year-old hope when you're not sure yourself?" Then one night she couldn't sleep. The chemo made her so nauseous. So I turned on a movie, your movie, the first Deadpool. Ryan closed his eyes. She loved it. She loved that Deadpool got hurt but kept fighting, that he made jokes even when things were terrible, that he was scarred and broken but still showed up. She said, Michael's voice broke completely. She said, "Deadpool doesn't give up, Daddy, so I won't either." The studio was dead silent, except for people crying. Jimmy Fallon had tears streaming down his face. Ryan was openly sobbing now, not even trying to hide it. She said that 16 times over the next year, Michael continued, every time the treatment got hard, every time she wanted to quit. "Deadpool doesn't give up, so I won't either." Your character, this thing you created, became her superhero. Not because he was perfect, because he wasn't, because he kept fighting anyway. Ryan couldn't speak. He was holding Michael's arm, staring at the tattoo, trying to process what he was hearing. That something he'd made to entertain people had become a child's survival mantra. That Deadpool, irreverent, violent, ridiculous Deadpool, had given a 7-year-old cancer patient a reason to fight. When she finished treatment, Michael said, when the doctor said she was in remission, I made her a promise. I told her I'd get Deadpool tattooed on my arm, in her handwriting, to remind me forever that she's the real superhero, not you, not the character. Her, Lily. Ryan looked at Jimmy, at the cameras, at the audience. Then he looked back at Michael. "Where is she? Is Lily here?" Michael shook his head. "Home, with her grandparents. She's still recovering. Her immune system is still weak. We couldn't bring her to a crowded studio." Ryan nodded, thinking. Then he made a decision. "What's your address?" Michael blinked. "What?" "Your address. Where you live. I want to visit her. Lily, I want to meet her. Ryan turned to Jimmy. We can pause the show, right? How far away do you live? He asked Michael. Queens. But you don't have to. Yes, I do, Ryan said firmly. You're telling me a 7-year-old girl survived cancer because of something I created, and I'm supposed to just keep doing an interview? No. We're going to Queens. Right now. The audience erupted. Jimmy Fallon stood up, laughing through tears. We're going to Queens. Cameras, let's go. What happened next became one of the most viral moments in television history. The Tonight Show, live television, carefully planned, completely changed course. Cameras, crew, Jimmy, Ryan, and Michael piled into vans and drove to Queens. The drive took 43 minutes. During that time, Ryan sat with Michael and listened to the full story. About the diagnosis, about Lily's first chemo session, about the day her hair fell out, about the day she was too weak to walk, and about the good days, about how Lily would watch Deadpool movies in the hospital and make the nurses laugh by doing his voice, about how she'd tell other kids in the cancer ward, Deadpool doesn't give up, so I won't either. She helped other kids, Michael said. My 7-year-old daughter, fighting for her own life, was giving other kids hope because of your character. Ryan was crying. I need to meet her. I need to tell her she's the real hero. When they arrived at the Chen family's apartment building in Queens, it was chaos. Cameras, crew, lights, Ryan Reynolds in a full suit climbing 5 flights of stairs because the elevator was too small for everyone. Neighbors came out into the hallway, phones out, filming, not believing what they were seeing. Mrs. Rodriguez from 3B actually fainted. Michael unlocked the door with shaking hands. Inside, his mother-in-law was sitting with Lily, watching TV. She saw the cameras, saw Ryan Reynolds, and her hand went to her mouth. Lily? Michael called, his voice thick. Sweetheart, Daddy's home, and I brought someone very special to meet you. Lily Chen appeared from her bedroom, 7 years old, wearing Deadpool pajamas that were too big for her thin frame, her hair just starting to grow back in patches, dark sprouts covering her head like new grass. She had band-aids on her arms from recent blood draws. Her skin was still pale from treatment, but her eyes were bright and alive. She looked at her father, then at Jimmy Fallon and the cameras crowding the small living room, then at the man standing beside her father, tall and handsome in a perfectly tailored suit. She froze completely. Her mouth opened but no sound came out. She knew that face. She'd seen it 100 times on screen, but seeing it here, in her living room, in her tiny Queens apartment, was impossible. This wasn't real. This couldn't be real. Hi, Lily, Ryan said gently, kneeling down on her family's worn carpet so he was her height. I'm Ryan. I play Deadpool in the movies. Your dad told me about you. Can I talk to you for a minute? Lily nodded slowly, still not speaking, still not quite believing this was happening. Your dad told me something really important, Ryan continued, his voice soft. He told me that when things got hard, when you were sick and scared and the medicine made you feel terrible, you said something. You said, Deadpool doesn't give up, so I won't either. Is that true? Lily nodded again. Her eyes were filling with tears. I said it a lot, she whispered finally. 16 times. Ryan's face crumpled. 16 times. You counted? Daddy counted, Lily said. He wrote it down. He said it was important to remember. Michael pulled out his phone with shaking hands and showed Ryan a note. A list of dates and times. 16 entries, each one marking a moment when Lily had been close to giving up, close to wanting the treatment to stop, and had instead said those words. The last entry was 3 weeks ago, the day of her final treatment. Ryan stared at the list, at the proof, at this father who'd documented his daughter's fight, who'd kept count of her courage. Lily, Ryan said, his voice cracking, I need you to understand something. Deadpool is just a character. He's not real. He's made up. But you're real. You're the one who fought. You're the one who didn't give up. You're the actual superhero. Not me, not Deadpool. You. Lily's eyes filled with tears. But Deadpool helped me, she said, her voice small. When I was scared, when I wanted to stop, I thought about him. About how he keeps fighting even when he's hurt, about how he makes jokes even when everything is terrible. That helped me. He helped me. And that's amazing, Ryan said, his own tears falling now. I'm so glad he helped you. That's the most incredible thing I've ever heard. But the strength wasn't in Deadpool, Lily. It was in you. Deadpool was just a reminder of how strong you already were. You used him to find your own courage. That's all you, sweetheart. That's all you. Then Ryan did something that made everyone in that tiny apartment cry. He pulled out a Sharpie from his pocket and said, Lily, your dad has a tattoo of Deadpool on his arm. Can I see it? Michael extended his arm. Ryan took the Sharpie and, right above the tattoo, wrote, Lily is my hero. Ryan Reynolds, Deadpool. Now it's official, Ryan said, smiling through tears. Now everyone knows. You're the real superhero. Lily started crying. Not sad crying. Happy crying. The kind that happens when something you've wished for becomes real. She hugged Ryan, and he hugged her back, and her father and mother and grandparents and the entire camera crew were crying. Ryan spent 2 hours at the Chen apartment. He played with Lily, answered her questions about making the movies, told her behind-the-scenes stories, took photos with her wearing his Deadpool t-shirt, and before he left, he made her a promise. Lily, when the next Deadpool movie comes out, I'm inviting you to the premiere, red carpet, the whole thing, and I'm going to introduce you to everyone as the real Deadpool, the one who didn't give up. Deal? Deal, Lily said, smiling so wide her face hurt. The clip went viral within hours, not just the Tonight Show segment, the whole thing. Ryan driving to Queens, meeting Lily, signing the tattoo, millions of views, trending worldwide, but more importantly, it sparked something bigger. Parents of children fighting cancer started sharing their stories about the characters and movies that gave their kids hope, about how sometimes superheroes aren't just entertainment, sometimes they're survival tools. Ryan Reynolds personally called the Chen family 3 times over the next month, checking on Lily, and 6 months later, when the next Deadpool movie premiered, Lily Chen walked the red carpet with Ryan Reynolds. She wore a custom Deadpool dress. Her hair had grown back. She was strong. And when reporters asked Ryan who his favorite person at the premiere was, he pointed to Lily and said, Her. She's the real hero. She taught me what Deadpool was really about. Not jokes, not violence, hope, never giving up. That's all her. Studio 6B doesn't mark that moment officially, but everyone who was there remembers. The night Ryan Reynolds stopped a live television show to meet a 7-year-old cancer survivor. The night a tattoo became a promise fulfilled. The night the world learned that sometimes superheroes are real. They're 7 years old. They fight battles nobody should have to fight. And they survive because they found a reason to believe that giving up wasn't an option. Deadpool doesn't give up, and neither did Lily. And that's the only thing that matters.